This is Superyacht News, in association with Go Earth Boating, navigating boat buyers to better deals. Hi, welcome back to the channel. So we've got a story here about a yacht, a $200 million yacht, apparently breaking down on the way through the Bay of Biscay. The vessel is owned by the ex-NHL owner, Dan Schneider. Now, we're going to read from the Daily Mail because they were the ones who covered this story initially. The name of the article is Ex-NFL Owner's Stunning $200 Million Yacht Breaks Down as it's forced to limp back to the UK coast. And it reads as this: the $200 million or £149 million super yacht belonging to former NFL team owner Dan Schneider was forced to return to the UK last week after suffering a mechanical problem. The luxury 305-foot yacht, which is 92 metres by the way. It's amazing that in the UK we still don't give metres, still talking feet. Reportedly lost power while travelling through the Bay of Biscay, just off the coast of France. Reports have claimed it suffered engine failure. Bay of Biscay can be very, very treacherous, the weather there, so yeah, not the best place to break down, but it never is when you break down, right? The yacht, named Lady S, belongs to former Washington Commanders owner, then had to make a humiliating journey back to the UK. These are their words, obviously, because I'm reading from it. It reportedly limped back towards land at just 1.5 knots after losing all power, and eventually docked in the Cornwall town of Falmouth, where it underwent repairs. Several engineers have reportedly flown onto the yacht using its helipad, including one from Holland, where it was manufactured. It remains unclear if Schneider, who is said to be worth in excess of $4.5 billion or £3.3 billion, and spends a lot of time in London, was on board during the unfortunate incident. So that's all the story from that newspaper I'm going to read out. I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that they said in the story. One of the things that they do mention actually is that the vessel's a charter vessel. So whether or not he's on board, it's when a yacht's a charter vessel, there's a lot more reason for it to be moving around when the owner's not on board. But it's extremely unlikely the owner would be on board for a crossing like that. When a vessel's moving from, because the vessel started, which I'll go into in a second, the vessel started in the Mediterranean and then went up to the UK, which is his home base apparently. So it's unlikely the owner would stay on board for that. They usually fly to the yacht, spend their time on board, and then they fly home again, and then the yacht moves when the owner's left. Anyway, we'll look at the AIS data here. The yacht left Saint-Tropez 20th September, heading to Gibraltar, arrived there on the 1st of October, and then headed towards Portugal. The yacht left a location in Portugal. I think it was La Coruña. On the 6th of October, and it appears to have slowed or stopped during the crossing over the Bay of Biscay, as they mentioned in the article. Before they got into trouble, it seems they were doing about 10 knots. But then after that, they were doing about 3.5 knots, and they were doing 3.5 knots to 6 knots the rest of the way home. So not 1.5 knots. Maybe there was a period at the end of the trip where they were at that speed, but they certainly were going faster than that. Now that sort of indicates that they might have been on one engine. The fact that they were going so slowly. Usually a yacht can go faster on one engine. They only usually need, depending on the yacht of course, but they only usually need the second engine if they want to really make, if the yachts, one of the yachts I worked on, the maximum speed was about 18, 19 knots, and we could do 14 knots on one engine. And we only needed the second engine to get the rest of the speed. So, but it does seem like they had problems after that. The yacht arrived in Falmouth though under her own steam, right? So it's not, by no stretch of the imagination, is that a humiliating story. Maybe it's humiliating for the person who wrote it because they think that because the person's a billionaire and he's got an expensive yacht, that it's kind of funny that the yacht broke down. But the reality is, a yacht it has an engines and it has mechanical things, and mechanical things break down, and even $200 million super yachts break down. I've been on a number of them over the years, so there's nothing humiliating about it. The vessel didn't, it's not like the vessel had to be towed as well, which sometimes happens as well. And again, it's not humiliating. I would say humiliating would be crashing your yacht into an island or into something that, crashing your yacht into something would be a bit more humiliating. And like I said, extremely unlikely he was on board at the time of that incident. It's possible, I suppose. It just depends on the owner. But in my experience, owners generally don't want to be on board for that. And also, for him to be on board for like 10 days just to get the yacht back to Falmouth, it doesn't make any sense, because he's a billionaire, therefore he's got all kinds of things going on, and they usually just fly home and then get on with it. Anyway, we'll move on to the next story. This is a good one, actually. A man was rescued by a yacht delivery crew, delivering a yacht, of course, after he went overboard. Now, this happened on New York's Lake Oneida, I believe it's pronounced. The yacht is named Motor Yacht Scot Free. It's not the same yacht that I saw in Monaco that time. They gave me a tender ride, different yacht. This is only a small 16-meter, 55-foot yacht. A Two Oceans 555 yacht it is. The delivery crew of the yacht, they certainly got more than they were bargaining for when they made that trip. They were sailing along and they saw what appeared to be a log in the water. Fortunately for the person they rescued, they went over to investigate, and they realised it was actually a man in the water. The man had fallen overboard. The vessel had been swamped. He'd been out with a friend to spend the day fishing, and the vessel had turned over, and they both ended up in the water. And the men were not young spring chickens either. One of them was 66 years old. The other one was 77 years old. Now, the man that the yacht crew rescued is a 66-year-old Brian Palmer, his name was, and he was wearing a life jacket, as was his friend, which probably saved his life, because he spent 6 hours in the water. The crew manoeuvred the vessel into position, and then they dragged the man aboard. I think they used a swim platform as well. They said he was very cold and shivering, and like I said, being in the water for 6 hours. The temperature of the water was 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 15 degrees Celsius. When they recovered the man, very lucky to be alive in water of that cold for that amount of time. Now, the small fishing boat that the men had been in had taken on some water, and the bilge pump had failed, and it meant that the waves caused by wind and stuff had swamped the vessel and put them both in the water. And Palmer, the survivor, said he saw many boats passing by, but none of them came over to see him. Probably just didn't see him in the water, or assumed it was just floating debris. Luckily, Paul's friend was later rescued by another vessel. Joseph Davis, 77 years old, was the other man overboard. And the names of the guys who were on the yacht: delivery captain Lewis Kitchen, Captain Esteban Estrada. I wonder if he's related to Eric. Probably not. And deckhand Mark Riascos. They were the crew on board who rescued Palmer. So well done to those guys for being alert and actually going over to investigate when they saw that. All right, guys, it's Friday. That means it's time for this week's Friday Yacht Spot. First yacht on the list is Motor Yacht Ulysses. We've done this boat a number of times. This is in Villefranche-sur-Mer and sent in by Jackie O. I wonder if it's Jackie Onassis. Probably not. Owner of this yacht, Graham Hart, and he's owned a number of yachts, and we talked about it. He had two built by Clever Marine in Norway, and he sold those both to Yuri Milner, and now he ordered this boat from Fedship. They're not the only boats he's owned, of course, but they're just the two that stand to mind, because all of them have been called Ulysses. This boat was delivered in 2024, and the mission for Fedship, should they choose to accept it, was that they build everything that they had in the previous 6,000 gross ton boat, but into a 3,000 gross ton yacht. So they called in Doctor Who and built it on the same specs as the TARDIS, I guess. 103 meters in length, 337 feet, and 2,999 gross tons, and it has a value of around $250 million. Next yacht on the list, Giorgio Armani's Project 596. It doesn't belong to Giorgio Armani. He designed it. This is in Monaco, and this was sent in by Nehan Marks. I'm still not sure of the name of the yacht. At the yacht show, this was at the Monaco Yacht Show, and it had Project 596 on the back. So I don't know if it's still called that. It sounds like a delivery name, doesn't it? A project name. Now, what we understand is the owner of this vessel refused delivery, hence when you look it up, it says X after you. I believe it was bought by the owner who's selling the yacht that we just did a tour on, the Heeson, because he calls all his yachts after you. This was built by Admiral, which is part of the Italian Sea Group. And like I said, it was designed by Giorgio Armani's design house. and features an ice-class hull, cinema, fire pit, and spa facilities. Next on the list, motor yacht Al Merkab. This is in Miami. It was sent in by Eastman Sea Dog Troy Taylor, a yacht broker at the City Center Yachts in Miami. This motor yacht Al Merkab is a 133 meter or 435 foot super yacht built by Peterswerft in Germany in 2008. Almost 10,000 gross tons. This is a Mahus of yacht. And value of about $300 million. The owner is Hamad bin Jasmine bin Jabbar Al Thani, who's a member of the Qatar royal family. Next on the list, motor yacht Infinity. This is in Port Dinaru in Fiji, and is sent in by Maury Hill. This is Eric Schmidt. Owner is the Eric Schmidt. Its value is about $300 million. 2022. This was delivered. A 5,000 gross ton vessel. 2 helicopter landing pads, because, you know, why not have 2 instead of 1? And 117 meters in length, or 383 foot. Built by Ocean Co, by the way. And the last one on the list this week is Man of Steel. I love that name. This is in Portland in Maine in the US, and it was sent in by Chris O. This was on the 2nd of August 2025. Had me fooled there for a minute because he's put 8/2/25, and then I remembered the Americans like to put the month first. This was built by Ocean Co. in 2010. This used to be Steven Spielberg's yacht, used to be called Seven Seas. We've featured it a number of times. It's now owned by Barry Zelkerman, who's a steel magnate, so that's why it's a cool name, Man of Steel. Value is about $150 million, and it's an 86-meter yacht, or 282 feet. All right, be sure to check us out on patreon.com/eSysman or YouTube members. We've got about 50 members on YouTube now, and we've got a couple of hundred on Patreon. Be sure to check it out for extra stuff. We do Patreon chat or the member chat videos. We do behind-the-scenes stuff when we do trips. There's loads of stuff from the Monaco Yacht Show on there. Check it all out on patreon.com/eSysman or YouTube members. Be sure to like this video and all that jazz. Have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. If you're working or if you're having the weekend off, have a great one, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.